Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I wanted to talk about negative space in watercolor. Now I'm going to be using my Winsor Newton Cotman set and a black I have. This is the Ivory Black from Schmincke. So let's get started. I have this piece of studio grade watercolor paper divided in half for a reason. We're going to do two different types. Now I want to show you one of the simpler ways. There's tons of ways to do negative space, and these are all the ways that I go about it that make it easiest for me. So for this side, we're going to do a magnolia flower, which is huge white petals with green leaves. Now this is going to be very quick because I can only do about 11-minute videos, and I want to show you a couple different ways. So the first way you can do this is you can add okay, we're going to draw because I want you to see the shape. Typically, I wouldn't do this, but if you are a beginner and you've never done negative space before, I want you to see this. So these are pencil lines. This is going to denote the flower petals of the magnolia flower. And magnolia flowers, they are very, very white. Very high contrast. In the center, these are the petals. In the center, you are going to have the stamen with the pollen, and that is going to be a color. So this is my magnolia flower. Okay. Now, this is the portions we're going to leave basically white. So I'm just going to take a round. This is a 4 round. It's whatever brush you're comfortable with. I am taking, I have sap green and Viridian in this set, and I'm going to go around this space. Negative space means your main subject matter is where you're not putting the pigment. And I'm going to do varying greens for added interest, and I'm going to add tons of water and kind of blend them in a little bit slapdash, just because I want you to see the main point of this. Okay. Obviously, in watercolor, you kind of want to be a bit more thoughtful, take your time, go slow. But again, this is just a quick tutorial, so I'm going to be quick. Now, so here is my white flower. Now, if you look at a photograph, and there are tons of royalty-free pages where you can get photographs, divide your subject matter into shapes. So this is kind of my background, but let's say I have a really clear visual on some distinct leaves. Divide that, add that in, figure out the shapes and things that are going on in your painting, in your illustration. Okay? In terms of your flower, there's going to be, even though your flower is white, there's going to be shadow. Like, think of it as a drop shadow. I'm going to use the palette in this lid real quick. I just want a tiny, tiny amount of gray. I want the palest gray, palest black I can achieve. I'm going to water that down. It is easier to go lighter than you need than to go dark and try and lift. So I'm going to do really, really light drop shadow, and this is where sort of the leaves overlap. So even though parts of this are going to be white, not all of this will be white. And let's say part of your petal is folded. Magnolia flowers sometimes fold. There's a shadow from overlapping petals. And these are kind of the things you need to think about when identifying negative space and what has to remain white and what shouldn't be white. So I'm going to go in with some yellow. I'm going to do the pollen and the stamens and all the things in the center. And this is just a yellow ochre. This is a very warm yellow. And it's very nice. These two leaves are curled over the stamen, so I need to have shadow in here. There needs to be a little bit of shadow. So if you can imagine this without the pencil lines, And the way you would denote the different petals would be by the different drop shadows from the pale, pale gray. This would be a negative space flower illustration. Okay. One of the easiest ways to do negative space, and I'm going to show you my phone, is to take a photo you have. And this is a photo of one of our cats. Her name is Lucifer. And edit it and add a filter and turn it black and white. When you turn one of your own photographs black and white, you can clearly see the shape of where the stark whites are. Now I'm going to attempt to paint this without any sort of guide. Let's get a different size brush. Okay. She is a fun little cat. All right, let's get all the pigment out of here. Okay, so we have ear shape that has tufts of white. So we want to leave a little bit of white in the ear. Now the top of her ear is white right there. So I'm going to have to denote that by creating a background that's dark. You're going to have to add background so you have space that's white around your subject matter. Okay. Come around for her face. And this is where it's getting higher contrast with the dark. And I'm going to do her eye last, but I'm doing the black portion first, and then I'm going to let it dry. And there's sort of a shape in her nose. This is lighter gray over here, and here's her other eye. Okay, so we're getting sort of the outline of her face and the different grays that go into her face. Here is her nose. Her nose is super, super pale gray. It's very, very pale. And then once that dries, I will go back in and do the little tiny darker dots to denote that. But this is pure white. So I need to make sure that I have really sectioned off the background. I'm going to need way more darker value of black to create the illusion of negative space. Okay? This is our little itty bitty kitty. There's a little bit of gray here. It's pretty pale over here. But over here it's white. This is how you do negative space. The background plays into how you create your subject matter. It is easiest to do this in black and white when you're first getting started with your own photographs of subject matter that you enjoy. That's our cat. Now, what I didn't do is create space for whiskers. So I didn't add that in. But this is the easiest ways to do negative space. Practice with some of your own stuff. You can even take here's a color photo of our other cat, Magpie. And here she is gray. And here's the green. Where I would omit color would be all around her where she's glowing. And you can see that when you turn a photo black and white, you can see where the value is. It's where you know the brightest brights are and the darkest darks. It really, really helps with black and white photography. And negative space with light grays. I mean, this is just a photograph of a weed in our garden that I took a photo of, but all this is, it's omitting. Now, I can try and lift. I can try and lift color for whiskers coming through. We can try it. Obviously, I would want to spend way more time on, here's a little towel, when lifting, but you kind of get the idea of whiskers. And then really pale color for the eyes. Her eyes aren't white. That's how this becomes easier when you do it in black and white, is you get a really clear idea of what needs to be white and what doesn't need to be white. And then you can turn your photograph back into color, and that'll help you. If you choose to do color paintings, you could toggle between black and white to see where the different value range is. I hope this video helps. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.